Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again to cut through all that information noise. We take the sources you've sent us and we really try to pull out the absolute gold, the knowledge you need right now.
Yeah, digging deep.
Exactly. And today we're doing a deep dive into something a bit different, maybe. Conversational engineering. Let's call it that.
Ooh, I like that. Conversational engineering.
Yeah. We're not talking headlines or, the big economic picture today. We are zeroing in on let's say, foundational structures in English. Master these, and they really act like social technology. They can instantly boost your fluency, your conversational capital.
That's a perfect way to put it. These really are the workhorse phrases, aren't they?
Yeah.
The sources we looked at today, they make it clear that fluency isn't just about, knowing lots of words.
Right.
It's about picking the right structure, the right linguistic tool for the social situation you're in. If you want to go from just, being understood to actually sounding authoritative, polished, natural, getting these high-utility expressions down is, frankly, non-negotiable.
So the mission today is purely practical application. We want to get way beyond just the textbook definitions. We need to understand the sort of implied social contract that comes with each phrase, how to use them effectively, and maybe most importantly, how using them changes how you come across. Professionally, socially.
Exactly. And these four, they really do cover the functional architecture, you could say, of a good conversation. We've got one for quantifying time and continuity.
Okay.
One for handling those tricky emotional responses. One for politely managing choices. And a really powerful one for stating your future intentions clearly.
Okay, so that gives us a pretty comprehensive linguistic toolkit. Let's formally introduce the four. We're going to unpack it. We've got last 20 years, and importantly, its variations.
Right, the template aspect.
Yeah. Then, I'm sorry to hear. After that, would you prefer A or B? And the last one, that really definitive future statement, from now on.
A great lineup.
Right. Let's jump straight in with that first one, the temporal structure. Okay, so let's unpack this first phrase. Last 20 years. Now, on the surface, it seems simple enough. It's just duration. But what makes this particular structure using the last X amount of time, what makes it so powerful in conversation? Especially when you're, giving context.
Well, the crucial thing it signals is it's about continuity and relevance. That's key. When you say the last 20 years, you're drawing a very clear, continuous line from a point in the past right up to this very moment.
Okay.
So the listener gets at the action, the status, whatever it is. It's either still happening or its results are directly impacting the conversation right now. It's like a verbal time machine that always lands in the present.
And the sources pointed out something interesting, that the number 20 in this case, it's just a placeholder, right? A template. It said the phrase can function or can be used for more time, or I guess much less time too.
Absolutely. That flexibility is critical. The duration is completely scalable. If you're talking about a really slow, gradual change, maybe you'd say the last century.
Right.
If you're looking at, say, stock market data that just came in, you might be talking about a shift over the last few minutes of trading.
Okay.
The structure itself, the last X that stays constant, that's the template. Doesn't matter the scale.
Yeah.
The real power comes from framing your discussion around an ongoing condition, not something that's finished and done with.
Okay, let's make this practical. If you're in a professional setting discussing market conditions, maybe significant trends, where does this template really become essential? Can you give us a solid example?
Yeah, definitely. Think about a business presentation. Okay, if you just say 15 years ago, the tech industry experienced disruption, well, okay, that's history.
Right, sounds like a footnote.
Exactly, it's passive information.
Yeah.
But use our template. The tech industry has seen significant disruption over the last 15 years. See the difference?
Yeah, immediately.
Now you're telling your audience this disruption is an active force. It's still shaping profits, strategies, how consumers behave today. It gives your analysis immediate depth, immediate relevance.
Wow, okay, that is a massive difference. One sounds like, a closed chapter. The other is like a live, ongoing issue that demands attention right now.
Precisely. Or think about something like environmental policy or global health. You'd say, researchers have observed a steady increase in extreme weather events over the last 2 decades. You almost have to use this structure.
Because it's still happening.
Because the observation and the weather events themselves, they continue right up to this moment, the moment you're speaking. That's what we mean by conversational capital. Using this structure makes your statement feel, comprehensive, fully integrated into what's happening now.
So, okay, that's the professional side. What about in a more personal context? Does it still elevate things? How does it make a simple status update better?
Oh, definitely. In a personal context, it establishes your status with real clarity. Imagine you're going through immigration, maybe filling out a form or just telling a new acquaintance about yourself. Instead of saying, I worked at my old company for 5 years, then I left, that kind of chops up your history.
Right, it segments it.
Yeah. But if you say, I have been employed at this organization for the last 5 years, bang,
Yeah.
that confirms it's uninterrupted, continuous, your status is current.
Okay, this feels like the perfect time to get into let's say, the technical core. We really need to spend a moment here. The underlying grammar. Why does this phrase over the last X years, why does it basically demand the present perfect tense? It seems like it's grammatically non-negotiable, isn't it?
It really, really is. And this is honestly where a lot of learners stumble. They might memorize the phrase itself, but they don't get the mechanics behind it. So the present perfect tense, right? It's formed with have or has, plus the past participle like have lived, has seen, have been. English uses this specific tense precisely to bridge the past and the present. If something started back then, but it's either still going on now or its result is clearly felt now, you must use the present perfect. No way around it.
So you're combining that continuous time marker for the last X years
Right.
with the verb structure that itself signals continuity of the present perfect. And boom, you get this perfectly structured, seamless idea.
Absolutely. Think about the common mistake, using the simple past. If I were to say, I saw huge changes in the city the last 5 years, well, grammatically, that implies the 5-year period is totally over. Finished. Done.
Like maybe I moved away after those 5 years.
Exactly. Maybe you lived there for exactly 5 years and now you're gone. But if I say over the last 5 years, I have seen huge changes. Now I'm standing right here in the present, reflecting on a period that either just ended or is maybe even still unfolding around me. The key message for you, the listener, is if you use the last X, you've got to pair it with the present perfect to correctly signal that connection to the now.
That is so vital, especially for someone learning. If you're prepping for a presentation, say, and you want to sound really polished, make absolutely sure that when you talk about ongoing trends, you nail that present perfect structure. It just instantly lifts a simple fact into, like, contextualized analysis.
It really does. It's like adding a little verbal footnote that confirms, hey, this historical data, it's directly relevant to the decision we're making in this room right now. Mastering this structure isn't just about sounding fluent, though it helps. It's more about sounding analytical, sounding well-informed.
A perfect example of that social technology idea in action. Really clear.
Okay, so we've shifted from measuring time. Now let's talk about managing emotion. Let's look at I am sorry to hear. This feels like the quintessential phrase, maybe, for acknowledging difficult news. It's like the conversational equivalent of hitting a respectful pause button. Its function is incredibly important, you're right. It's pretty much the perfect, polite, and universally understood way to show immediate, sincere acknowledgement when someone shares bad news. It's kind of a crucial social safety net, really. Stops you from fumbling awkwardly.
We absolutely need to nail down the core meaning here, because this seems to be a big cultural trip-up point for many learners. This is about expressing sympathy, right, or empathy. It's not an actual apology, like you made a mistake.
Yes. You've hit the absolute most crucial nuance there. When you say, I am sorry to hear that your project failed, you are expressing regret that they are suffering that outcome. You're not apologizing because you caused the failure. If you used a phrase like, oh, I apologize for that, it would sound really weird, potentially confusing.
Right.
It implies you're accepting blame.
Right, like you were responsible somehow.
Exactly. I am sorry to hear keeps the empathy clear, but without taking on any responsibility.
Yeah.
It maintains that crucial distinction.
And it's impressively versatile, isn't it? It seems to cover quite a wide emotional range. We're not just talking about, major tragedies here.
That's right. Think of it like a spectrum of difficulty. At the lower end, maybe it covers just mild inconvenience or frustration. Say a colleague tells you, my commute took 2 hours this morning.
Ugh.
Yeah. You respond, oh, I'm sorry to hear your commute was so rough today. You're just validating their irritation, respectfully.
Yeah.
It's a polite acknowledgement, nothing more, nothing less.
It acknowledges the feeling, without making the inconvenience sound bigger than it is.
Precisely. Now, slide along that spectrum towards more significant setbacks, an injury, maybe a major project getting canceled, a serious financial loss. In those heavier situations, saying, I am truly sorry to hear that, becomes the absolutely essential first step of support. It works so much better than, say, overly blunt responses like, wow, that's bad luck.
Yeah, that sounds a bit cold.
Or even those overly casual phrases that, native English speakers might use with very close friends, but they're just totally inappropriate in a professional setting. The structure, I am sorry to hear, just conveys immediate, respectful, and, importantly, genuine acknowledgement.
I think we should pause on the alternatives for a second. Why do they fail? If I just say, that's bad, what's the actual social cost?
Well, the social cost of those alternatives is often alienation or just plain awkwardness.
Yeah.
Responding with "that's bad" can sound dismissive, maybe blunt, even a bit juvenile sometimes.
Right.
It tends to shut the conversation down rather than opening it up.
Yeah.
And if you respond with just silence, oh, that's risky. You might seem insensitive. Or worse, like you didn't even register the seriousness of what they just told you. I'm sorry to hear is like this concise, standardized script that reassures the speaker, okay, I heard you, I processed it, and I care.
So it manages that flow of emotional information really effectively. When someone shares bad news, there's this immediate need, isn't there, to sort of maintain the connection.
That's its primary power in the conversation's flow, yes.
Yeah.
It basically acts as an open invitation. It signals to the speaker, look, I'm present, I'm listening, and you're welcome to elaborate more if you want to. It just smooths over that conversational awkwardness that so often follows unexpected bad news.
Yeah, that gap.
For a language learner, really internalizing this phrase means you never have to scramble for words in that kind of emotionally charged moment. It gives you immediate, appropriate language for showing empathy.
It's the phrase that lets you pause, regroup without looking cold or, disinterested. It really does feel like a hallmark of strong social communication skills. It helps you keep that rapport going even when the news is tough.
It keeps the channel open.
Yeah.
And, in professional communication, showing that level of emotional intelligence, that ability to acknowledge difficulty while still staying composed, that's incredibly highly valued.
Okay, so that conversation about empathy, it actually leads quite naturally into the need for practical action sometimes, which often involves making decisions. So let's shift gears towards logistics and respect. Let's talk about, would you prefer A or B? It just feels like politeness and efficiency rolled into one.
Oh, this phrase is a masterclass in respectful decision-making. Its core mission is simple. Offer a clearly defined, limited choice.
Right, the A or B part.
But do it using language that's incredibly deferential to the listener. It minimizes their effort while maximizing their feeling of agency.
The structure itself seems key here. That A or B construction is critical, isn't it? It instantly manages expectations. You're not just asking them to invent a solution out of thin air. You're asking them to pick from two specific, viable, presumably pre-approved options.
Exactly. It eliminates that scope creep you can get in decision-making. Think about it. If you just ask, so what time works for you? The listener might suggest something really inconvenient for you, or maybe they just feel overwhelmed having to check their whole calendar against yours.
Yeah, puts the work on them.
But if you ask, would you prefer we meet at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m.? Well, now you've done the pre-work, the vetting. You're just seeking their convenience within your own workable constraints. It feels proactive, and it's highly respectful of their time.
Okay, let's explore some scenarios. Beyond just scheduling meetings, where else does this kind of binary structure really shine?
Think about hospitality or any kind of service industry. If you're a waiter, maybe, or hosting a client dinner, you generally don't ask, so what do you want for dessert?
Too open-ended.
Right. You ask, would you prefer the chocolate lava cake or the key lime pie? It focuses their attention, makes the choice simpler, faster, and feels more professional.
Okay, now let's level this up. Professional decision-making. Strategy, execution plans, maybe high-stakes choices. How does it work there?
This is where it becomes what you might call strategic politeness. If you're presenting, say, a solution to a board or to a major client, you never want to seem completely open-ended or unsure.
Right, looks like you haven't done your homework.
Exactly. So you present the options you've already modeled, already vetted, for example. Okay, regarding the Q4 resource allocation, would you prefer the strategy focusing on immediate cost cutting, that's option A, or the strategy focused on longer-term infrastructure investment, option B? You ensure the project moves forward, but crucially, they retain the power of the final choice between your prepared options.
That allows you to guide the conversation, steer it, while still giving them that sense of autonomy.
Absolutely crucial. And this brings us perfectly to the deep dive on the grammar, specifically the modal verb would. We really need to analyze why would you prefer functions as a much better social lubricant than the simpler and grammatically correct do you want A or B?
Yeah, I think would just completely transforms the social dynamic, doesn't it? Do you want feels very direct, almost demanding, whereas would you prefer seems to make the question conditional hypothetical somehow. It removes that demand element and just adds layers of courtesy.
That's perfectly put. You could almost think of would as like a deferential shield.
Yeah.
Do you want it's really only appropriate in very casual settings, maybe with your spouse or a close friend at a football game. Do you want a hot dog or nachos? Fine.
Uh-huh.
But in professional or formal settings, asking what someone wants can sound too blunt, maybe even slightly aggressive. It can imply a lack of manners.
Mm.
By shifting to would you prefer, you are specifically validating their opinion, their preference, as the deciding factor, rather than just asking about fulfilling a basic need or desire. It signals deference, formality, which is often paramount in the workplace or when dealing with clients.
It validates their opinion. That's a really powerful insight. So for you, the listener, this is an essential nuance to grasp. Using would you prefer helps ensure you never sound too abrupt or demanding, even when you're actually trying to be efficient by limiting the options.
It shows you respect their time, their position, their perspective. You're signaling that you're prioritizing their preference, even though, ironically, you structured the question specifically for efficiency. It's like efficiency wrapped in a layer of respect. And that combination is a key differentiator in really polished communication. All right, our final phrase for today shifts us entirely into the future, but it's tied directly, firmly back to this present moment. From now on. This isn't a suggestion, is it? It's not some vague hope. This feels like a declaration of change, of resolution.
It is perhaps the most powerful, most definitive phrase we're covering today. From now on signals a really clear absolute boundary in time. It means starting right now, this exact moment of speaking, a new state, a new rule, a new policy, a new action. It will be consistently, perpetually applied going forward. It's like making a verbal contract with the future.
Yeah, it's got a strong sense of finality to it. It declares a new rule or expresses a firm resolution, and it leaves absolutely zero ambiguity about when that new state begins. The old way, the old habit, it's instantly over. That immediate termination of the past, that's what gives it its weight, its gravity. There's no implication of like a gradual phase-in or some kind of soft start. If you're trying to change a really deeply ingrained habit, using this phrase can provide that necessary mental break, that sharp line separating you from the old behavior. It's definitive.
Okay, let's start with personal resolution, but give it some real weight. How does this phrase take a simple personal goal and turn it into a much firmer commitment?
Okay, well, compare the weaker commitment. I think I'll try to start exercising regularly soon.
It sounds tentative, doesn't it? Like a hopeful idea, maybe?
Yeah, non-committal.
Now, use our phrase. From now on, I will commit 1 hour every evening to focused physical training. The second one sounds like a rule you're imposing on yourself. It transforms that wish into a concrete, measurable policy of self-governance. It gives your intention real power. And saying it out loud, especially to someone else, adds that layer of accountability. Okay, and if we scale this up, we need some high-stakes examples to really show the declarative weight of from now on. Let's think organizational policy, maybe even regulatory stuff.
Absolutely. When you're establishing policy, any ambiguity can be disastrous, right? It could lead to compliance issues, maybe even legal exposure down the line. So if a company is announcing a change in operational standards, they have to be crystal clear. For instance, think about regulatory compliance. Due to recent legislative changes, from now on, all client communications must be logged on encrypted servers, regardless of any existing local storage policies.
Wow, okay. That completely cuts off any argument from employees who might try to say, oh, but I was grandfathered in under the old system. This phrase just overrides all prior rules instantly.
Precisely. It functions like an organizational reset button. Another powerful example may be in finance or HR. From now on, expense reports submitted more than 10 business days after the travel date will be automatically rejected. That's a firm boundary. The expectation for adherence is immediate. It doesn't leave room for negotiation about the deadline. It's the new protocol, full stop.
So let's quickly analyze the tone this carries. Does the listener, does the person using it, need to be aware of the inherent determination packed into from now on?
Yes, absolutely. Because even when it's used in a purely administrative way, it still carries a definite sense of authority. Whether the tone you use is firm and determined, like making a personal promise to save money, or more administrative and neutral, like announcing a new IT security standard, the underlying message is always one of non-negotiable change. If you're in a leadership position, using "from now on" ensures your audience understands the magnitude and, crucially, the immediacy of the policy shift. It's a structure that commands adherence.
And the grammatical implication here seems to be looking towards simple future actions or perhaps continuous future actions. It's just a really powerful phrase for achieving clarity. By using "from now on," you're effectively giving your intentions teeth, ensuring there's no uncertainty about exactly when the change kicks in.
You're setting the future course,
Hmm.
but it's anchored firmly by this present moment, this ability to just reset the timeline, declare a new law for yourself or your organization. It's genuinely one of the most practical and high-value conversational skills you can acquire. Hashtag outro. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into these four really foundational conversational structures. I think what we've really seen today is that choosing the right phrase, it's less about following some arbitrary grammar rule and much more about selecting the most effective social technology for the job at hand.
Yeah, that's a great way to summarize it.
We mastered measuring time with last 20 years, didn't we? Recognizing its flexibility, but also that absolute necessity of pairing it correctly with the present perfect tense to signal that ongoing relevance.
Uh-huh. And we learned how to accelerate empathy using "I'm sorry to hear," clarifying it's about sincere, respectful acknowledgement of misfortune, which helps avoid that awkward silence or those blunt responses.
Yeah. Then we ensured we could manage choice with both control and high politeness using "would you prefer A or B?" We understood how that modal verb "would" acts almost like a deferential shield, really validating the listener's preference.
And finally, we looked at establishing clear future intent, setting those unyielding boundaries with "from now on," confirming just how much weight it carries as a declarative phrase for important resolutions, policies, commitments.
Exactly. So the key takeaway here isn't just about memorizing these four phrases. It's about understanding their function, their purpose. They're like ready-made components that help you navigate complex social, emotional, professional interactions with more confidence. They make your English sound efficient, respectful, and definitely highly fluent.
Right. And since we spent a good amount of time on the power of "from now on," how it establishes that clear, definitive start point now for future continuous action, maybe let this be the provocative thought you carry forward. If you really get that pattern, you can start spotting the underlying structure in related temporal phrases too. Like, what does the inverse structure signal? What about "up until now"?
Oh, that's a great point. It's the perfect counterpoint, isn't it? If you recognize the function of setting future intent, it unlocks your ability to instantly grasp the function of reflecting on past continuous intent that stopped at the present.
Absolutely. It's about seeing the patterns. So we really encourage you, the listener, to actively listen for these four phrases and maybe start substituting them into your own daily conversations. Try using them today, internalize them, and watch your conversational capital start to skyrocket almost immediately.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into these essential conversational English structures.
Happy learning.